Hello everyone and welcome to Geotab's online training. Thanks for joining us today for Tuesday's talk. This is Carrie Carter and I have two of our partners with us today. Michael Head, the Managing Director from Fleet Hoster, who is going to show us his fuel integration, FuelBI. And then we also have Casey Evans, the VP from Comply 365, to show us their integration. And with that, Michael, I am going to hand it over to you.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, well, I'm Michael Head with Fleet Hoster. We'll be going over FuelBI, and FuelBI is the first of a set of 4 modular apps inside of FleetBI. And I'm going to kind of move through some of this kind of fast. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer later at the end of the presentation. I want to kind of go over the presentation first, and we'll get into the software. The way FleetBI is set up is it is set up into a modular applications to where we have FuelBI, and FuelBI is available now, and FuelBI is a fuel card integration across all the 4 major providers. So it does combine fuel transactions and GPS data with Geotab. We update daily with your transaction files from the customer from the fuel merchants, and it also provides custom alerts, charts, reports, easy to read key performance indicators, and works, of course, with all the 4 major car providers. There are other ones coming online as well, and that is FuelBI. That is going to be available in July 2015, so next month. And we are offering that for right now for free for all current subscribers of FuelBI up until the release of FuelBI. And FuelBI is an extension to be able to increase the maintenance and repair awareness across the fleet with a Geotab environment. So it is there to extend that, and we do offer all kinds of notifications and easy to read key performance indicators for those alerts as well for shop repairmen and fleet managers. And then later on in the year we'll release FuelBI, and FuelBI is a risk management interface and driver scoring works across national standards, and it's a very interactive, and it's we do some really cool, unique stuff. We actually compare data points and everything, even all the way down to weather. Right, so we monitor, was it raining when this happened, and that kind of stuff. Is really, really cool. And the winter, we'll be coming out with DispatchBI, and in DispatchBI, it's basically automatic uploading and downloading of daily routes and route data and statistics along with those routes for the whole routes and the legs of the routes, and also for proactive monitoring of those routes, and also reactive monitoring as far as, if you're going to be late for a stop, notifications. It does have integrated messaging for the dispatchers and also for the field technicians in the field. And it also includes weather reporting for those operations that include planning and in need for those operations for maybe they have something that's highly weather related, as far as maybe sprays or something that can't be sprayed in high winds and rain. But all these modular applications can be subscribed to individually, and they can exist inside the Geotab platform as an add-in, or optionally as outside as a web application. And the security is it's fully integrated in with Geotab, so there's really not too much extra to add on the security aspect as far as what's already set up in Geotab. All right. And when we look at the FuelBI overview, we do, like I said, we do integrate with Comdata and FleetCore. Some of you may know it as FuelMan, and US Bank, Voyager, Ride Express. All of these, we take these transaction files on a daily basis, and we process these against the GPS data for that particular customer, and we offer these in a reporting format and other data that they can utilize to actually get a lot more information out of the system. And we can see over here it actually does operate as an add-in right here. You can move these where you want to. We do offer 2 subscription models inside of FuelBI, and that is basic and standard. Most will be on the standard subscription model, and that is actually the full access to the FuelBI platform and full Geotab data integration. We do offer a basic, and that is an API access to download all the parsed fuel transactions, and that does work across all the fuel providers as well, and that can be used to drop into other applications or other type of software, any type of need that you would have to export those transactions. And when we look at our approach, we actually look at location analysis, fuel analysis, and the reporting side of it. So we do try to link all the platforms together with common data, and with that common data, once we have it, we analyze it with the GPS data that is coming from Geotab. And when we look at that, we're really looking for some location analysis. Was the vehicle at the merchant at the time of the transaction? Is that merchant location verified? Did we have a good geocode on that merchant? And that's one of the things that FleetBI offers and FuelBI offers as a product, is that we offer that improving data. So we work to improve that merchant location data. So as it comes in, on the average, 25% of the location data that's coming in from merchants is hard to geocode, right? So it may end up a mile away, maybe in the middle of a zip code. So what we do is we work to bring those down, maybe down into the 5% level and even further down. And what we're looking for is to, when we have these corrections done, is that the future data that's coming in, we're using our data against that new data that's coming in, and then our data is a lot more accurate than the fuel card providers that's coming in. So our location matching gets a whole lot better. As far as on the user side, we are going to open that up to the users to be able to do that as well, and that will be able to drag and drop a merchant on a map and verify it, and we can record that, you as the verifier, and then for them on it will work the same as far as for that information for that particular merchant. When it comes in, it'll be at that new geocoded location. For fuel analysis, we do look at fuel purchased versus fuel used. Fuel used being what Geotab was telling us being used by the equipment, whether it's total fuel used and idle fuel used. Fuel purchased, of course, being what was purchased by that particular vehicle over that transaction period. And then we're looking at, was the vehicle filled? And was the vehicle filled? We're specifically looking at fuel level. For vehicles that do report fuel level, we're looking for that overall trend to see if there was an upward trend in the fuel level, right? So it can be sporadic, but we do normally get an upward trend just to have that confirmation that fuel was put into the vehicle. And of course, between transaction and transaction A and transaction B, we do look at everything that you would expect from trip data from Geotab. So we are grabbing everything there, from trip distance to fuel used, auto fuel used, after hours driving data, work hours driving data, all that kind of stuff. So we're getting everything, including some optional stuff that that you can add on as far as tank capacity and fuel types and that kind of stuff. But we do get down to the fuel metrics like miles per gallon, cost per mile, and we try to get those down to exact cost. And one last screen here is that we work to really have some algorithms that go in and build up and try to summarize this data into a pattern that makes a little more sense without digging in too much into the data. But what we do is we're mainly looking at match alerts, log alerts, location alerts, and fuel alerts. For match alerts, basically that is when we have, say, a vehicle card, and that particular vehicle card has a VIN number or a vehicle ID. We're looking for that same VIN number or vehicle ID in Geotab for that existence. And if so, we have a match. And so if they were to move on to logs, so we're looking for a log alert as far as when we're processing, we want to make sure that vehicle was active during that time. So we want to make sure that we have some type of vehicle logs around that transaction time, and that's what we're going to use to process the data. For location alerts, we're really looking at, was that vehicle at that particular location at that point in time? And so, sometimes we're looking at whether it's ignition events, trip stops, gear events, whatever we have to do to try to get as close as we can to that location at that point in time where that particular person was there. Sometimes we do have people that do not actually turn their ignition off while they're getting fuel, and can present problems at some times. So we do look at the merchant as far as being verified and not verified. When it is verified, we use algorithms to verify that location based on one or multiple vehicles being at that location at the point in time of that transaction, we can go ahead and verify that merchant. If we can't do that, the merchant becomes not verified, and that becomes a manual process on our side, or the customer side if they would like, to be able to map that out to where it's actually correct. And what we're looking for is we generally draw a 300 meter radius around that particular fuel station, and we're making sure that vehicle is within that range at that point in time. And so with those, we will get off like a warning alert that maybe it was outside of 300 meters, but the merchant's not verified, so it could be okay, just the merchant maybe not in the right location. But if we know the merchant is verified and it is outside 300 meters, then we do issue an alert. For the fuel alert, we are looking for where the fuel transaction purchase overage versus fuel used is over 2.5 gallons, and also for a increase in fuel level detected, as mentioned earlier, right? And let's go ahead and we'll get into the application here after one slide. We have just a list here of the configurable alerts. There's a lot of alerts. There's 8 different categories of alerts that you can choose from, and the administrators can set these up, and we can report on an alert across all of these particular alerts, whether it's a location match not found with a merchant verified, fuel type mismatch, fuel overage per gallons, all kinds of stuff, high grade fuel, was a purchase on a weekend, Sunday, Saturday, detailed as you like here. Total distance may be driven between transactions, maybe minimum, maximums, but it's highly configurable. All right, we're going to see here that I'm going to go ahead and click here, and it should log me right in as it did. And I'm logged into FuelBI right now. In the interface here, with the other apps that are coming out as far as repair, dispatch, risk, we can switch over, and these are modular, like I said, so these will run within FuelBI without having to change out and go to a different add-in. So they're all in here together with the same security. Actually, so you just extend its security for each particular app, but you don't have to set up new users for everything. FuelBI here, let's go to the dashboard. So when we're looking at the dashboard here, the main dashboard is looking at this particular fleet here is around 3,000, so they do have a lot of fuel expenditures here. So we are looking at all fuel here, and we do have KPIs across here for all the fuel. So we're looking at spend, transactions, total gallons purchased, average unit cost, average transaction cost, idling cost, and we can see they're running right around 8.5% idling cost. We can look at total distance in miles, weekend transactions, average cost per mile, average miles per gallon, average overage in gallons, and this is what we mentioned earlier about as far as purchase overage, and that purchase overage difference as far as being plus and minus as far as what was used as reported by Geotab. But do keep in mind that value can fluctuate depending on how people fuel a car. So if a person is fueling up the car completely each time, that number will be accurate every time. But if they're maybe filling up halfway or 10 gallons at a time and it's not going all the way up, you may have some instances where it may become below and positive. So a trend of that over 30 days should net around 0, right? So that's where you should see it. Any vehicle that doesn't trend like that, then they should be having a lot of transaction problems. And here we also list the no location matches where the merchant is verified. And this is what we actually work to get this number down right here. And this is what we do as far as the premium fee pay for the process here. And we can also, go across and look at unleaded fuel here, and we can go to diesel fuel and other fuel. This particular company has, I think, 3 devices that are natural gas vehicles, so they do have some alternate fuel. Right, and just as a note up here, these particular filters can be used across the full site, and this is a date selector here, pretty much easy selectors here out to a custom range, whatever custom range you want to select. Here with the groups in Geotab, the group structure in security in Geotab is tightly integrated in with FuelBI. So what that means is that I'm actually as an admin in this particular company here, so I could actually see the top. So if I was actually, let's just say, if I was, let's go down here. Maybe if I was an EMI group, right? So if I was here and I had access to the system, then this EMI group would be at the top of my list. That would be all that I would be able to see right here. So it works just like you'd expect in Geotab. So basically, if I was looking at EMI group, then I would only be able to see transactions within that group, right? So full security is withheld as set up in Geotab. And so we'll move on to some other tools here. Let's go. Let's look at some of the setups real quick here. And we can go into the manage rules section here. This is for admins, and they can actually set up the actual rules. And we saw these in the presentation earlier, and there are a lot of them. But we can go and actually set these up. Whether it's say you want to look at cost per mile, if it ever dips below some certain value that you want to set, anything you want, you can just basically set these up here. Maybe if you wanted miles per gallon, and say you want to give it maybe a name of miles per gallon, I'm sorry, under 5 or something, right? So anything that's going to kick off an alert that you want to have, you can actually enter these in and have these done across the board for every user. Now, as far as when a user will see that particular rule, they could come in and select the rule that an admin has set up for the company to use. And maybe if they want to go here, maybe select maybe a transmission group here, and they want to get an email when anybody in that particular group has that particular alert, then they can sign up for that or just have it on their alerts or email. Either one that they want to do is fine. And we'll go back to the admin area here. Adding users is really quick and easy, so we can go in and add a user. We can add an email. And we do this because some users in Geotab don't actually have a valid email address. So we do have this where you can actually enter an email in, first name, last name, display name, time zone, and you can actually just select the Geotab user. So this would actually go out and just select a Geotab user that's in the system. And what that does is that maps that user over to Geotab. So that will then kick off the onboarding process. It will send them an alert to go into to verify their email address, and then they'll be into the system there, and they can access that both inside and outside of Geotab. When accessing inside of Geotab, of course, it will actually just directly log them in as long as they have a valid Geotab session active. We do actually sync vehicles up daily, and this is actually we can come in here and actually edit the vehicles. We can add a little bit more information for reporting purposes as far as make, model, year, in case you want to do reporting against the particular make, model, years of vehicles, as far as looking at fuel cost, and even fuel types, so maybe you want to look and see what your savings are on fuel across these are across maybe vehicles that use unleaded versus maybe a dual unleaded and CNG vehicle, right? So you can choose these. We can upload all these in mass with a file. We can you can give us. So we can also do fuel tank capacity here. So this fuel type here enables a good alert. It's called fuel type mismatch, and that fuel type mismatch will actually look for when a vehicle is actually say it's a diesel vehicle and they get an unleaded fuel, then that would set off an alert for fuel type mismatch. So sometimes that can be used in those situations to capture a bad transaction. So we'll move on to let's go to the transaction page. Let's see. And here we can filter across transactions, whether it's drivers from the fuel card, drivers, Geotab drivers, merchant cities, zip codes, devices, VINs, the match alert levels, whether they're okay, at alert level, warn level. We can really search across anything, even the rules we got. So I'll search across here, and this is going to list the transactions that match that particular alert for this group, which happens to be everybody, and then or for the last 30 days. So I'm going to see here, I'm going to see all my transactions here, and I can of course zoom into these and see where these are if I want to get into detail of that. I can come in here and just filter some data really quick. This will filter out everything. Everybody has a John in their name right here, actually. So Get this out, and we'll pick, let's pick somebody here. And looks like we have a transaction here. This actually did filter, it does filter out the transaction, so we can see that we do have a good merchant here, and we do have a, we see that the vehicle is at that merchant at that time of location too, so we do have a good location match there. And we can see all the information about the transaction as far as the transaction header, fuel card provider, everything there, all the transaction details that was entered in from the fuel card provider themselves that comes across. And then we can also see all the information as far as what we get from Geotab as far as confirming those particular transaction details. And then we can, of course, export this out, into Excel format, also if wanted. And I'll give you all the details across those as well. And these are the alerts that we talked about earlier as far as a good match. And it looks like we're getting good matches across the board here. Logs, we're finding logs on the vehicles. Here, location, we're getting a location matches off. We've got a warning here. And that's how we can kind of use these to kind of to really look at the transactions from a summary perspective. And you can actually filter these out here to get a better idea of how those actually work together. And of course, we can go over to reports. We can run some reports here. We can also export these out. This is a daily report. We can look at particular cards. I did a card employee number here. And we can look at the data for these particular employee cards. If you have a lot of people use fuel cards in a lot of different ways, right? So a lot of them maybe have no names in their card. Some of them have employee numbers. So we kind of try to cater to everything in here so we can actually report across everything. And you can, of course, filter this out, as well. You can export out the data and have that downloaded as an Excel spreadsheet also. And I'll just cancel out of this right now. Now, as far as FuelBI, I know I mentioned that earlier, but FuelBI, it is going to be included for those particular subscribers to FuelBI up to the release of FuelBI, which is, I want to say about the middle of next month. And what FuelBI does is FuelBI in detail actually monitors fault codes for every vehicle in the fleet, and actually has that scheduling status for maintenance and any type of repairs. You can also enter those in, at will. And we try to collect these from FuelBI also for any kind of maintenance cards that are out there, and then we push those into the FuelBI also, so the fleet manager can see that it's a possible maintenance transaction happened there, and they can look at it into more detail and maybe record that, whether it was an oil change, a tire rotation, that kind of thing. And we do offer those alerts to be notifications to be sent out to supervisors, to drivers, maybe even attach instructions. Maybe you want to go to a specific oil change place. Maybe they don't do it at their shop. All kinds of details. So, and that's what's coming out in FuelBI. And if you have, can we open it up for any questions?
Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Michael. That's terrific. All right. So I have a couple of questions here. J1708 vehicles, do you know what kind of fuel data you get in on that?
Yeah, we're getting everything that Geotab can give us, right? So for the most part, we saw a lot of heavy-duty vehicles there with that particular company. And so for the most part, we do get generalized data, from Geotab, and it's enough. There are some cases where we don't get fuel level readings, but for the most part, everything else that we get to confirm the transactions is there, as far as that data.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so we have a couple of other questions here. You talked about alerts earlier, but do you have an alert that might indicate that fuel is being removed? In other words, it's being stolen?
It's kind of hard to catch that. So what you would see a lot of fuel purchase overage amounts for that particular vehicle. In other words, they would be filling up more than what they're using. That's about the only way to catch that read.
Okay, you also talked about administrators that can customize. I'm assuming you mean administrators being customers and not yourselves?
Correct, customer admin. So the way we set up an account is that we set up one customer admin. So let's just say Company A. We would set up an admin in Company A. And that particular company at that point in time, the admin could then add users as they want to get access into the add-in. If a normal user just clicks on the add-in, they will not be able to get access because you have to be granted access into the application. So they would just get a screen that says, you're not a member of the site, contact an administrator.
Okay, excellent. How do you handle, or can you handle, the purchase of fuel that was not done through the fuel card? Is there somewhere to add that in?
Yeah, we did have that request from someone that was using GasBoy and as maybe an on-site fuel. So we are adding in that. That should come in at around the July timeframe as well,
Okay.
and that will be able to add transactions in for that particular vehicle at that point in time. So there'll be a list, and we'll even offer an Excel spreadsheet upload list if it's a lot.
Two more short questions here. One is bulk edits. You talked about that you can do bulk uploads. I'm thinking for your content of vehicles that were Chevys, 1500s, license number, and that kind of thing. When you say that there's a bulk upload there to do that, is that you doing it, or is there a bulk upload tool that the customer can use?
That will be emailed directly to FleetHoster, and then we'll actually upload it for the customer and set all those.
Okay. Last question I have here is Canadian fuel cards. Do you have any?
As far as like FleetCor, you may know like Husky and others. Like Husky is actually owned by FleetCor.
Okay.
Right. So, and they do exist. Comdata is in Canada also. And
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, but any of those four majors, those cards that we do support. We can support others that are in Canada as long as they have some type of way for us to get the transaction files. One more thing, I didn't hit on, and this is real quick. Basically, to get going, what really is needed is what's called a letter of authorization. I have one of those for every particular provider, and it's a real easy process. You let me know what customer is interested. We send a letter of authorization out. That particular authorization will get filled out by the customer, sent back to FleetHoster. We'll submit that to the fuel card provider, and that particular customer's daily transaction files will then be added to our feeds, and we'll be able to start getting those. Usually within 3 to 4 days, those are added in. And currently, Ride Express is the only one that charges a $100 fee in what's called a WexLink setup. So that's just something to be mindful of. But then after that, we just verify the links as far as what they're using on their fuel card system, whether it's vehicle ID, VIN number, driver ID, whatever we're doing, whatever link we have to make into Geotab, we make that. We're very flexible. We have over 20 different combinations that we can work with. If not, we'll add more. And but once that's set up, it's an automated process, and then as long as they maintain their fuel card system in the correct way, as far as if they say they're matching vehicle ID to vehicle ID over here in Geotab, as long as that vehicle ID in the fuel provider slot, stays correct, then everything stays together. So.
All right. So if you have any questions for Michael, his contact information is here. Michael, we thank you for coming on and sharing with us FuelBI. And with that, everyone, I thank you so much for joining us. I do appreciate your time today.